Hello, IDC friends and supporters. Thank you for joining me today. With me, I have Aram Hamparian from the Armenian National Committee of America. Thank you, Aram, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Great. Well, we have a couple topics to go through today, but I first wanted to congratulate you on the hard work that everybody was doing in regarding the Armenian genocide recognition in the House and the Senate. So great job on that. Did you want to talk a little bit about it?
Well, I'd like to start by saying thank you to IDC. In Defense of Christians was an absolutely essential partner in the adoption last October of the Armenian Genocide Resolution in the U.S. House, and then in December in the Senate. Those votes were nearly unanimous, 405 to 11 in the House, 100 to 0 in the Senate, putting the Congress on record forever, recognizing the Armenian Genocide and rejecting Turkey's denial of that crime. So the partnership that we had with IDC was critical to that progress, and we're deeply, deeply grateful.
Yes, we have a very long-standing relationship with the work that you guys do, and you obviously, and so we thank you for your leadership and getting that recognized. I know that we worked specifically with you guys to get not just the Armenian genocide recognized, but the other genocides that the Turkey committed to the various religious and ethnic groups in the area, including the Syriacs in Syria and Iraq, and the Maronites in Lebanon, and the Greeks, and all the other, I guess, minorities in the region. So thank you for your work. Your leadership was obviously very important on it, and it had a great effect. So,
Sorry, I mean that again goes back to the work of IDC, our just early discussions with Tufik and so many others, you and the rest of the team, so that the legislation itself was essentially about the Christian genocide that the Ottoman Turks committed against all these nations: the Armenians, the Assyrians, the Greeks, Chaldeans, Syriacs, Arameans, and Maronites. It truly was a Christian genocide, and our work through IDC helped make sure that was communicated and got the Congress on record in just the right way.
Yes, exactly. And so it was really important work. I know that you guys are now moving to also pressure the administration on recognizing the genocide, and you're now focusing on Artsakh and that situation. Did you want to start with what you guys were doing with the administration and then move forward with Artsakh?
Sure. It turns out that at this point in time, we have, I think, essentially every U.S. state, I think with one exception, we have both houses of Congress, the national media, the civil society, American public schools, all recognizing the Armenian genocide. There's one holdout, and that's the White House. And this isn't a Democratic or Republican issue. The presidents have always been reluctant, since Ronald Reagan in 1981, to speak honestly about this crime. And we look now to the White House to join with the Congress for a Republican president in this case, to echo Ronald Reagan, another Republican president, and also more than 95% of Republicans in the House and Senate who supported this. So we think it should be a relatively easy decision for the president if he's just willing to not, grant a foreign country a veto over U.S. policy on this genocide against Christian people.
For sure. And so with that being you mobilizing and focusing on the administration and in regards to recognizing the genocide, but do you see the direction now with the Turkey's actions in regards to refugees and the deteriorating relationship with the U.S.? Do you think that the committee will be able to step in and put more pressure on the White House to get things done?
Yeah, I mean, you framed it exactly right. What's happened over the years is that we've had U.S. presidents, sessions of Congress that have been, actually very eager to get on the right side of the Armenian genocide issue, but because of Turkey's geopolitical value, because of Turkey's support on all these issues, they were given this veto. And when they do actions like they did in Syria, or they're doing now with the refugees, it causes American leaders, policymakers, to rethink that veto. And once they get that the thought it deserves, they're ready to say, okay, let's do the right thing. Turkey doesn't deserve a veto.
Exactly. And so I think in the coming months, it'll show how strong their U.S. relationship with Turkey in regards to being able to respect its different boundaries. And I think the next couple of months will be very telling of the situation. Absolutely. So again, thank you for your leadership in this. It's very important to get the White House on board with this. So moving forward, I know that the committee right now is working on the situation in Artsakh. Did you want to give a little background for our viewers that aren't very well versed in the topic, and then we can go from there?
Sure. I'll go way back.
Way back, all the way back.
back to the time of Jesus, to the time of the first century. Two of the apostles of Jesus traveled to Armenia, Thaddeus and Bartholomew, and they preached there. They converted there. The Armenian church is an apostolic church. We're called an apostolic church because we're founded by the apostles Thaddeus and Bartholomew. And you can still in Armenia today find first century holy sites, sites that were established, including in Artsakh, which I'll talk about now. Artsakh is this historic part of Armenia, Armenia being the first Christian nation in 301, a historic part of Armenia that was ripped away from Armenia and handed to neighboring Azerbaijan during the Soviet Union. That was obviously unjust. It was a Stalinist kind of land grab with all these calculations about setting groups against each other. But when the Soviet Union collapsed, the people of Artsakh, or Nagorno-Karabakh, as it's sometimes called, they asserted their right to independence and said, well, that was a Stalinist decision, and now we're going to make a democratic decision and pursue our own destiny. And that was answered by all these massacres and attacks and a war by Azerbaijan. And thank God, the Armenians of Artsakh won that war and established an independent republic. And the U.S. government has been very generous in providing direct assistance to Artsakh. Again, this is a very small, less than 200,000 Christians living in a very difficult neighborhood. But the United States has provided direct assistance for maternal health care, for clean drinking water, and now they're demining. They're
yes, that was my next question. Yes.
Yeah.
So I understand they understand that there's issue with the funding for the mining. What's the situation there, and what can be done?
Well, there's been some back and forth between the Congress and the executive branch, and the Congress is obviously very supportive of this issue. There's been dozens and dozens, more than 100 members who expressed themselves very vocally on this issue, Democrats and Republicans. The White House, sometimes they talk about how it's a budget issue, but the money is so small; it's just a few $1 million a year. Ultimately, I think this is a matter where Azerbaijan just doesn't like the demining of Artsakh. I'm not sure exactly why, but they're against it. They've prevailed upon some folks in the White House to attack this program. I think when the folks in the White House have a chance to take a really good look at the issue, and that's what we're working on right now, they'll realize that the dollars here are not very much, not a huge dollar amount. And it's a really great program. It's well administered, and it saves lives, and it builds confidence in peace. It's really an investment in peace that we should continue. Sure. So the ANC is super active on that. That's probably our top legislative priority right now.
Yes. So I have a question for you. So I understand there's demining efforts. Is it all over the country, or is it in certain parts, certain pockets, or how much work has been done there?
Okay. There have been different estimates. I think that they're certainly done with most of the demining, although they're doing a survey now, which should be done by the end of this year. That will give them a clear sense of what remains to be done. This is humanitarian demining, which means the Halo Trust, which is the NGO, doesn't do work on the front line or the line of contact, and that would be dangerous for the deminers, and it would lead to possibilities for conflict, maybe between the Armenian, Artsakh, and Azerbaijani side. So this isn't military demining to demine the front line. It's just humanitarian demining to demine the interior, like farms, fields, and half of it is mines, but the other half is unexploded ordnance. All these bombs that landed but didn't explode, and tragically, children are often the victims of those accidents.
We had the same problem in the civil war in Lebanon, where there are now efforts to do the same kind of projects, and they do some amazing work because it's a lot more extensive than we think it is, and so the resources are definitely needed there to be able to gain that land back, because people do get hurt by active bombs that have been in the ground for decades now that are just no longer, I guess, visible to the open eye. So that work is very important. So you guys are working right now with working in Congress and administration to continue funding for these projects. And are there other anything else that you wanted to highlight with that specific issue?
Well, I mean, those are important issues for us, and then we're also working on strengthening U.S.-Armenia ties. But internal to our agenda is IDC's agenda, and that means the work that you're doing on Lebanon, the work and helping the refugees return home, so that the burden upon the Lebanese government is lifted. This is on top of the virus, on top of the refugee crisis. This has been really extremely stressful for Lebanon, its people, and its government. The work that you guys are doing in northern Iraq, with the Coptic community. These are all ANC parties. If they're IDC parties, they're ANC parties. We feel very strongly about all these things, and the need for solidarity. This is like really the great lesson of IDC is that when we work together, tremendous things can be accomplished. You know, Christian groups over the years have done many things.
You guys, yes, you and Tufi have spoken extensively about how important these relationships are because, you know, strength in numbers and the simple fact that we have several different organizations that we partner so closely with, it's able to intensify our voice. And you know that the ANCA is one of our biggest partners, and we thank you for your leadership and your support. And we hope that, and with you these issues, we hope to hear good news specifically about the demining because that issue is of grave importance. So thank you so much for speaking with me today. Appreciate your time, and like I said, I look forward to good news in the coming months.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.